7 o'clock straight up as we welcome you inside another edition of Double Jab Boxing Podcast, powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, and of course coming at you live inside the friendly confines of TriX57.com. TriX57 Studios, Rich Quinones, joined as always with my partner, co-host, Rob Scott, and we've got a ton of stuff to get into. It feels like when you miss a week, you have to play catch-up in the world of boxing. We want to remind everyone, though, by the way, Memorial Day weekend is right around the corner. So for all the information on the inaugural Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, their inaugural class, check us out online, acbhof.com. Like I said, you've got a ton of stuff. The rooftop cocktail kickoff. You got the Fight Fan Experience, the Red Carpet Gala. You got the Class of 2017 inaugural induction ceremony. And you've got Atlantic Ocean as the backdrop, only in Atlantic City. So you can buy tickets right now as we speak, acbhof.com. But another week of boxing in the books. Did I miss anything? What did I miss?
Well, I missed you last week, man.
Well, you know what? You guys held down the fort, and Dave Bontempo, you guys did a great job. So I appreciate the short notice, and good to be back in the saddle on the East Coast.
Yeah, but we missed discussing last week's as far as the Klitschko and Joshua fight, and of course we have to discuss the upcoming fights.
Yes.
But you know, like I said, you weren't here last week, and I missed you.
Well, I missed you guys as well, and I always miss the audience, and I missed you in particular because I know when you were watching that heavyweight fight, that was without a doubt that probably, in my estimation, Rob, that, to me, was one of the best heavyweight fights I've seen over the last 25, 30 years. And what made it even more interesting is we always talked about a fighter overcoming adversity, right? That was one of the things you were looking at. Can he be taken in the deep waters? He gets knocked down early, he comes back, he knocks down Klitschko, and then he finally finishes him off. But that's a fight that potentially could define this kid's career. We thought if he won, and in the style in which he won, we would start to label him a budding star. He answered the call.
But it not only answers certain questions about Joshua, but I don't know if you remember when we were talking about, what was it, last week? Or I think it was last week, or not last week, or the week before that, where we were talking about fighters who you'll go out there and, as far as reputation goes, Joshua's one of those guys who, like you just said that Joshua fought one of the best fights in the last 25. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily agree with that. The reason why I don't agree with that is because of the fact that I agree with that only because of the significance of the fight. You know, when you want to compare it to like a George Foreman and Ron Lyles, you know, that was a heavyweight slugfest, you know. But as far as the Joshua and the Klitschko fight go, you know, it was a good fight, and it was a good fight in comparison to what we've had within the past.
I think that's fair.
And I think that's fair. I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, we've pushed this fight to the point of like, oh my God, did you see what we saw? You know, and you know, but
yeah, but not novice boxing fans all of a sudden we're talking about it because the heavyweight division has been so boring over the last 10 to 15 years, and now you give them a potential star, another, obviously a Hall of Famer, a guy that's going to roller skate into the Hall of Fame, and Klitschko possibly out the door, and you get the budding star. I think that's what boxing needed, especially in the heavyweight division.
No, it was definitely a shot in the arm to the heavyweight division, and as the cliche goes, as we always say, that the cliche goes that, you know, when the heavyweight division is alive and kicking, then boxing is alive and kicking. And what happened after that? Everyone is talking about how boxing is, you know, not dead anymore. You know, all over one fight, but at the same time, it was just one fight.
Right.
Now, but I think that we just need to embrace the whole boxing class as a whole, as opposed to just the heavyweight division. Joshua is one guy that I think that, you know, in comparison to, like, let's just say like a Thurman,
right?
Who, when Thurman won versus Garcia, myself, I said that he's what he's done is he's put himself in the position of being recognized as the best welterweight in the world. Right now.
Sure.
But we have a fight coming up with Errol Spence and Kell Brooks, mm-hmm. that the winner of that fight, especially if they get a knockout, they're going to leapfrog.
Exactly. And you're right. We're going to start saying now they're the next big thing in the welterweight division.
But what I'm saying is this. Joshua beat Klitschko the way that he beat Klitschko. It would take a certain significant name and a certain significant victory in order for us to say that Wilder and the rest of them are better than Joshua at this point right now. This is that's my personal opinion. I think that he has his grasp on the heavyweight division and being considered the best is much more solidified than Thurman's at welterweight.
You're talking about Joshua.
Joshua, yes.
But yet we still look at Wilder as the man to beat.
He's the man to beat because the fact of, Joshua beat Klitschko. So of course, next person down the line of who we think are going to be the person that's going to knock Joshua off, who's going to give Joshua the most stern test. And I think that Wilder has definitely the ability, has a puncher's chance ability of definitely beating Joshua because of his puncher's chance. But at the same time, Joshua showed a few
Joshua can box. Wilder, and we always have this argument, not you and I, but I always have this argument with boxing people. To me, Wilder at times is a one-trick pony. He relies solely on that right hand.
Yeah, and that's the only thing about it. Even when Mark Greeland was on, he said that he wants to get him to be more of a diversified fighter, where I feel that Joshua has proven in one fight. And now, granted, people were convinced prior to that, but I'm the type of person that I feel like, I got to give you credit off of something that you have done as opposed to something that you might do. That a couple weeks ago, he proved he's proved his medal. He proved that he's one of the. He's proved that he's the man at the heavyweight division right now. He's proved that he's the man to beat. Now we got other people coming into the fray like a Tyson Fury and things like that. And quite honestly, he impressed me with Klitschko from certain angles, getting up off the floor.
That was huge.
But I want to see how he's going to take a lumbering style of a Tyson Fury, where people think that, oh man, he's a oaf. He can be beat. He's beatable. It's easier said than done. Ask Klitschko. That's the reason why Klitschko lost the first time. I don't think that Tyson Fury has a style that's going to make anybody that look good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to an extent of what you're saying. I look at where we're still waiting for Wilder to get tested. So, of course, if you go down the chain, right, the food chain, you would say Josh would be that great test. I think it would be a fascinating fight because if you blink, someone might potentially get knocked out.
Oh, yeah.
I still think Wilder, again, I've been critical and I've been ripped for it. I still think he's a vulnerable champ. I think if you can find a way to work that body, take him into deep waters, it's a different ballgame.
And the difference between Joshua and Wilder is you just said work that body and things along those lines. Those are things that you can envision Joshua doing.
More than Wilder.
More than Wilder.
Absolutely.
Where Wilder is just going to go, I mean, it's a negative thing, but his name is Wilder.
Sure.
But there's plenty of times that Wilder acts wild.
Right.
As opposed to a Joshua he kept his composure and
didn't panic.
He showed,
Yep.
and the funny thing about that, what stood out to me was that there's certain fighters that you have the ability, but at the same time, there's certain things that throws you off. That stage, that night, a lot of fighters, they go in front of a stage. Not only fighters, but just the entertainers in general.
Lights are a little too bright.
You go in front of that stage, and the lights are too bright, and they can't perform the way that they want to perform.
Right.
Those lights were scoldering, but he still held his composure. And I think that's one thing that needs to be taken into consideration for Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, and it showed a lot of moxie with the big win. All right, speaking of heavyweights, we're hoping to track down Ray Mercer as well. On the other side, we'll talk about his career, ACBH, OF as well. Also later on in the show to close it out, we'll talk, we'll keep it kind of in our backyard with Rod Green, ACBH, OF, VP Business Strategist as well. So for Rob Scott, I'm Rich Quinones, 11 past 7 o'clock hour, just getting warmed up on a Wednesday. We'll come back on the other side. Quickie timeout. Wednesday edition of Double Jab Boxing Podcast right here on TriX57.com. And, of course, powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame.
At Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
That's a quick right hand by Getty. There we go. I don't think you get up forever.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Atlantic City's Convention Hall.
Morrison is gone.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'd like to appreciate everybody for coming out and viewing the movie. all my great fights that I had at Atlantic City are just so memorable to me. The 91-second Spinks fight, the Larry Holmes fights, and an array of other great legendary fights that I participated in Atlantic City. And I'm just looking very much forward to when the show's over at MGM Grand to come down there in Atlantic City in the Hall of Fame and receive my honors. Thank you very much, everybody. Talk Chow for life.
I don't think you can outdo me.
And down goes Holmes.
All right, 712, we welcome you back inside the Trix 57 studios and, of course, a Wednesday edition of Double Jab Boxing Podcast alongside Rob Scott. I'm Rich Quinones. We were talking some heavyweights. We welcome in a great one, of course, out of New Jersey and, of course, born in Jacksonville, Florida, though, the great Ray MERCER, kind enough to join us for a couple of moments. How you been, Ray?
I've been fine, man. Doing great.
Yeah, and how is life treating you these days, first and foremost?
Oh, life is treating me well, man. I wake up and see the sun light up. I get up, man. I go fishing. I do what I want to do. I make appearances. I mean, life after boxing has been great, man. It's been great.
Well, Ray, the heavyweight scene has been, really blossoming, especially within the last couple of weeks or what have you. You have been an intricate part in the heavyweight division for quite some time, in history. What is your take on what happened a couple weeks ago, and especially since you fought Klitschko and Joshua went down from a great shot from Klitschko? They say that what did they say? They say that the heavyweight punch, that's the last thing to go.
Right.
And you took Klitschko's best punches. How impressed were you that Joshua did get off the canvas to come back and actually beat Klitschko, even an older version of Klitschko?
I gotta tell you, that was one of the best heavyweight fights I've seen in a long time, man. I think both of those guys deserve credit. I mean, Father Time may have jumped on Klitschko, but he still was in the fight, the whole fight. I mean, both of them got up off the canvas and did what they had to do. Joshua, he showed a lot by getting up and getting his second win and everything. I think that was a great fight. I think it was a great fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rob and I were talking about it before. I mean, it's one of the best heavyweight fights I've seen in recent memory because, as you alluded to, you have two guys that get knocked down. And obviously, as Rob pointed out, Ray, when you fought Klitschko, you were at the tail end of your career, and he was kind of hitting the prime, so to speak. I go back and I look at your career, and it's interesting because we always talk about the power is the last to leave the heavyweight, right? No matter what. You might be a little slow of feet, it might be a little slower, but the power is always there. Did you actually grow into your power? Like, did you get stronger as your career went on?
I did, because I know how to turn my body, and I was, like I said, I had good training, and I've been doing it for a while, and I just learned how to. Like my jab, man. My jab turned out to be my best punch, and I knock guys out with the jab, So I get in there and the punch. I think it is the last thing to go because my last fight was in '09. It was an MMA fight, and it was in Alabama, and I was fighting 5-time world champ Tim Sylvia.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 4-ounce gloves on, man. And when I know that you have 4-ounce gloves on. It's like having nothing on. I mean, I can knock out a Mack truck with 4-ounce gloves, and that's what it was like too. Because he was like 6'7", almost 300 pounds, and I'm gonna tell you, I hit him hard as I could with my right hand, and that did it. So my last knockout, it was power driven. So I had to agree with you. Power is the last thing to go. It was for me.
Well, power was the last thing to go, and you did score that knockout. And as a matter of fact, I just watched it not too long ago, and it was an incredible feat what you did versus Silva. But, well, talking about MMA, you delved into MMA. And even though you were They have this thing about boxers fighting MMA fighters, and one thing that they do is they when you were not a spring chicken, if you will, from a boxing standpoint. So why would anybody think that you would be a spring chicken from a MMA standpoint? But now that you have done both, give us your take on what it takes to be an MMA star and what it takes to be a boxing star in the sense of preparation, as far as what you have to do to score that victory.
I have to tell you this, boxing is the ultimate sport for me. I think it takes a lot to be a boxer. I mean, we both, MMA and boxers, have the same similarities as far as training and, the way to think, the way to win and all that, but, boxing is the sweet science. And I would always be, a boxer. I did MMA. I didn't mind doing. I just did it really for my son, and because I like it too. And it was something else to do, and and I trained in it and everything. And I'm telling you, the training is harder. The MMA training is crazy. You can't have a long career in MMA. I'm telling you now, because you get banged up pretty well. I mean, all of your body. You know what I'm saying? All of your body. At least in boxing, you go home, you're not kicked in the legs or anything like that. But boxing is the sweet science, man, and to me, I'm not gonna talk bad about MMA fighters because I think they're great. They're great athletes, and they have to go through a lot and they have to defend a lot. But I mean, that's a rough sport right there.
Well, what do you?
I love watching it. A lot of people love watching it, and a lot of people say it took over boxing. I just think that it really didn't take over boxing. I mean, it gave boxing competition, but I think a lot of people like boxing and MMA. So, them guys work hard too, man, so I give them credit too.
Well, people going to nitpick. People going to nitpick all they want, but what do you say to like a Floyd Mayweather who's has a potential fight with Conor McGregor in the sense of, because a lot of people think that, even though it's in the boxing ring, because it's flip-flop from what you went into MMA. Conor McGregor will be coming into boxing. What is your take on that fight, and what do you think of Conor's chances of beating a Floyd Mayweather, and as opposed to fighting a Ray Mercer, who who, like I said, you went into their field, but Conor McGregor's coming into his field. What do you think about that?
I think it's great for Floyd that it's a boxing match. The only thing I hate about it being a boxing match, if McGregor did get lucky and did connect and something was to happen, then his whole record thing would be blown. But him in boxing, I think he's safe doing the boxing thing. But all it takes is one punch. And coming from an MMA fighter, he knows how to punch a little bit, and it just takes one punch. I don't know. It's going to be a good fight, but I think Floyd Mayweather is going to come out victorious big time because he is top dog in boxing, and boxing is the sweet science.
Couple minutes with the great Ray Mercer, of course, joining us for a couple moments. Held the WBO heavyweight title in 91 to 92. Great amateur as won gold medal alongside Rob Scott and Rich Quinones. I'll give you my thought on that real quick, and then I wanted to ask you a question about some of the heavyweights that you fought. Honestly, Ray, with all due respect, I think that fight would be a potential joke. I really would. McGregor's going in uncharted waters, and you're right. He'd have to get lucky and connect. Floyd's strength is what? He never gets hit, and he's going to dance around. I feel bad for the other welterweights. I do, because they all want to crack at this guy, and now he's coming back. And let's be honest, it's a payday. I'm not going to begrudge him. It's a flat-out payday. I broadcast boxing and I broadcast MMA. I have no desire to watch that fight and drop $69 or $79 because I already know. I know exactly how it's going to end.
Well, Ray, and I don't mean to cut you off. I don't know if you're getting ready to say something, but you got to think that the only people that I think they're going to walk away disappointed are the people who still expect Floyd to be Floyd.
He's not gonna.
Floyd Mayweather has been the pound-for-pound best for so long or whatever, but he's not the pound-for-pound best right now.
Yeah, but it's just someone. It's like as Ray said, though. It's someone getting a crack at him when you have all these other welterweights who are hungry. Why should you have an MMA guy, McGregor, because he's a ticket seller and he's braggadocious, come in and try to knock him off and not get to 50?
Well,
I'm saying?
I think that prior to that, no matter what the promotion sells, I think that the media has to stand their ground and let everybody know that this is a fight that between two guys that were, the head of their respective sports or whatever, but they're not the best right now. The product that is being fed to us is not the best product. This is not Floyd Mayweather of 10 years ago. This is Floyd Mayweather, who's not only been retired for a minute now, but he's a businessman now, and he's going back, and this is strictly business. But to think that, and I understand that, Thurman and all these other guys have been calling Floyd out. Those are the ones that he should be fighting, but I don't think that a victory over Conor McGregor is going to sit up here and going to add to Floyd's boxing mystique.
No, it's not.
So
it's
like
not.
just
Yeah. It's he right. The mystique's already there, right? I mean, he's built the equity, the legacy's there. It's not going anywhere. I'm just indifferent in it. I'm just curious too. You look at your career, and sometimes there's always a fighter that gives a certain fighter fits. And I look at the two fights that you had, and of course you'll remember, obviously, North Philly fighter and Jesse Ferguson. Was he a tough guy?
Nah, he wasn't that tough, man. What it was is I was just weak, and I didn't really train like I was supposed to.
Well, that's why I knew the backstory. I was asking you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really train for the fight, and and he was my sparring partner, so he knew,
everything.
He know I didn't train. Yeah, he knows most of the things. Man, my sparring partner, and he just knew I wasn't in shape and all that, man. He had his night.
At least you're honest.
Me being a heavyweight, and I was just lazy in training, man. I don't know, man. I was just too hyped. I'll tell you, but he's not good. He was good as a sparring partner.
Yeah, because he fought Bruno, yourself. He fought Holmes. I mean, that was when the heavyweights, in the heyday.
Yep, it's true.
Well, Ray, a lot of sports, they have what they call highlight reels, whether somebody gets dunked on, whether somebody, but in boxing, the highlight reel is somebody getting knocked out. You scored the most devastating knockout in probably in boxing history when you beat Tommy Morrison. Run us through that night. Run it through a night for me. I mean, this is a personal question. Run that night through me that you knocked out Tommy Morrison, who a lot of people thought that had a great chance to beat you.
Well, I was living in Newark, New Jersey, not Newark, but West Orange, New Jersey, and there was a club I used to always go to. It's called People's Choice. It's in downtown Newark, and when they made that fight with me and Tommy Morrison, it was like a black and white thing. People make it like that. And they was telling me if I let that guy beat me, then I can't come back in there no more, And you might think it's funny, but that was on my mind more than anything else. By me not being able to come back in there, being beat by the Great White Hope. Or that he became a Great White Hope because he beat me. You know what I'm saying? That's what really was on my mind. But, I mean, we trained for him and all that, man. He came out there throwing them big old bombs. I knew I was going to get hit. I always tell myself when I go into a fight I'm going to get hit. That's why I don't get stopped. I mean, I get stopped, but I don't get knocked down. But because I know they're coming. The bombs are coming. I'm in there with heavyweights throwing big bombs. And he was in there throwing big hooks. I mean, he probably threw a better hook than anybody else besides Joe Frazier that I know. And I was on the other end of it. So it was really bothering me. So I knew I just had to cover up and just wait on him to get tired. That was our game plan, for him to get tired. Because I knew, not to talk bad about him, but we knew he was on steroids. And I had my friend tell me either he was strongest man in the world contest. He won once, and he told me all he got to do, he's on oil-based steroids. All we have to do is just make him work for 5 rounds. So I got in there and took all his punishment for 5 rounds, man. And I mean, took his punishment. He got tired. I was going for 5 rounds, not doing anything, but he gave out in 3, so I started working, man, and just caught him. And when I hit him, I didn't want him to hit me no more, man, with them hooks, because he was hitting hard as hell.
Well,
he was really hitting hard as hell.
Well, we've been critical, or shall I say, we've touched on people being critical on officials who, either did their job or didn't do their job. On that particular night, the referee for that night took a bit of criticism because he said that
Tony Perez.
He could have stepped in much sooner than what he did. Do you think that?
I really didn't care. To this day, I still don't care. I just know in the Army, as being an Army fighter, that you don't stop until the referee pulls you off. I know I'm doing my job by not stopping. By beating, just keep on hitting as many times as I can hit until the referee pulls us off. That's where I was taught.
But you guys,
you watch most of my fights, you'll see that I don't stop. When
right.
When your knees ain't down or whatever, I'm still coming.
Well, you're right, because the last thing you want to do is give your opponent a little life, right? Yeah, I mean, when you're
that's what George Foreman used to do. He used to sit there and he used to beat the hell out of his opponent, and then look at the referee like, you ain't gonna stop it. You know, I don't do that. I don't look at the referee for nothing. I'm blacking out when I'm almost about to knock you out.
Now, you guys fought. That was at the convention center. You had that fight in October, and correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't you supposed to fight in August? And Morrison had to withdraw. He cut his eye, and then Bo stepped in, and then you injured your ankle, and then Selden stepped in, and he replaced you, and then he got knocked out.
That's exactly what happened, man. I didn't think anybody remember that one. That's exactly what happened, man. That was something. That's why I was in good shape for that fight.
I was going to ask you, did it throw off any of your training regimen at all?
No, not really. Because I mean, I think I hurt my ankle first or something, didn't I? And then he came back and got hurt or something.
So it actually turned out to be.
I was glad everybody was hurt, and we still made the fight. You know.
Yeah.
I was just glad.
Well, Ray, first off, I want to, even though you lost, but it's still a happy anniversary type of thing, because this is the anniversary of you and your fight with Lennox Lewis. Great fight, great performance, and also one thing that has to be taken into consideration is that Lennox was no old Lennox Lewis. He was a young Lennox Lewis, so that excuse cannot come into play. But like I said, this is your anniversary of that night. Bring us back to that night and tell us how you felt when the decision came down that you didn't get the nod.
Well, for one thing, we trained real hard for Lennox Lewis, and I thought I was winning the fight. I was hitting him with bombs, and I was hitting him with everything. Matter of fact, he even admitted, after I seen him like last year, that I was his toughest fight, and that fight could have went either way. I give him much respect for that, but I'm figuring if we both gold medalists, he's from his country and I'm in my backyard from mine in New York, that if it's that close, then I would get it. I would just hurt because they didn't, you know what I'm saying? It's my own country, and I fought for my country. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I was in the Army for 10 years, and I could believe that they would do something like that in my backyard. I just really couldn't. I really could. But it happened, I came out I had about 50 people when I came out. When I was going back in the dressing room after they announced, who won, and it was just me and my buddy Chris McClain.
They always say wait till after the fight when you lose to see who's in your locker room.
Yeah.
Not who walks out with you. It's who's in the locker room after you lose.
Wow, I'm in there by myself. You got a ton of people in the dressing room before you go out. Next thing you know, when you're walking out, when you lose, you're walking. Just you, me, and my buddy just hugging each other, walking back to the dressing room. Can't wait to go get a beer. That was all right there. That was it. That was the first time that ever happened. Nobody went back to the dressing room. I lost some, but everybody, people was usually in the dressing room with you. But that one, I expected everybody to be with me, but they wasn't there. I felt like I was fighting in the ring. My boy was there, and that's all I needed.
Last one for me, Ray. How about some of your recollections of fighting in Atlantic City? A bunch of fights down here, as Rob alluded to. Yeah, the Morrison fight. The Cooper fight was down here as well, right? I think you fought Washington. No, Washington was in New York. Yeah, how about the Cooper fight?
Or you can just throw in your debut.
Yeah, sure.
It was here. So how did that feel?
Yeah. Oh man, it felt great. I always wanted to be, and it sounds funny, I've never lived in Jersey, but I always thought the best fighters came from Jersey. So I always wanted to be a Jersey fighter. And that's why I was up in New Jersey, man. And Atlantic City was like my backyard, man. I had the great fight there, Tommy Morrison, me and Bert Cooper.
Yep.
That was fight of the year that year.
Yep.
And we both was in the Mercy room down in Atlantic City getting stitched up together. We beat the shit out of each other that night.
You remember who you fought in your pro debut?
Nah, I really don't remember.
It was Jesse McGee. Yeah, you remember his nickname?
Oh, Jesse McGee.
They called him the Tank. They called him the Tank, and he was 5'7". Now, how do you get a nickname called the Tank at 5'7"?
Yeah, he was a tough fighter too. He was tough. He was a little tank. You got it right too. That's my first fight, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was back in '89. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you got film on it. You can go watch it. You don't need me to tell you that.
I don't have film, man. I don't have film. I'm telling you, I don't have it. If you wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't have known. I didn't know when you had to ask me. You say, who was your debut fighter? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you don't remember your debut fighter, but give us a take on who's on the other aspects as far as like who hit you the hardest.
Yeah, toughest guy.
Who was your
yeah.
toughest guy? Who was the one that
Okay, I can tell you this: the hardest that I've ever been hit. It was my 3-year-old son. He hit me in the back of the head with a CNC. You know what a CNC is? He clapped me with that. That's the first time I felt my legs go. But other than him, I'd have to say Tommy Morrison.
Tommy Morrison.
Yep. Now, you can break it. You can break that down. There's fighters that we've known that has been considered the hardest punchers, but then you've also had fighters that are considered the toughest. Mm-hmm. So in other words, like from a outside looking in standpoint, Tommy Morrison probably would be one of your hardest punchers, but like Evander and people like that, probably would be in the place for being your toughest. Was Tommy Morrison your toughest because you finished him?
No, he was not my toughest by far. I tell you, my toughest was Bert Cooper.
Yeah.
Bert Cooper was my toughest fight.
And that was a unanimous decision. You beat him.
Yeah, man, I'm glad because I think I would have died if I had lost that fight.
Well,
I spent 2 days in the hospital after that fight.
Well, let me ask you this then. Around that time, you were in place for fighting Michael Moorer for a chance at the WBO championship. Now, we all know of Tommy Morrison, not Tommy Morrison, but Bert Cooper and Michael Moorer's epic battle here in Atlantic City. Those two fought. You were in line to fight Michael Moorer. Why didn't that fight happen?
I lost my belt because I didn't want to fight Michael Moorer.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you this. Back then, I really didn't realize the value of being a champion because I was on cloud 9 from being who I was, at that time. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. I really didn't know, and I depend on my jab so much that I know if I fight the southpaw, it takes away my jab. So I ain't like fighting the southpaw. So and I was stupid for letting them take my belt because I didn't want to fight because I fought Holmes. I should have fought Michael Moorer. But those were one of the things in my career that I wish I could have took back. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could have had those back. But sometimes you make your decisions are not the best. Not the best. It's not the best.
Yeah. No,
I made a real big mistake right there. And that really, out of anything that I've done that really bothers me, that one right there bothers me.
That's when you can't get that one back, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, you're right.
Yeah,
you're always,
and I could have made a whole lot more money with the belt, and being a champion and this and that. I think I could have wrapped up a little higher than I was.
Okay, so what was the deciding factor in why you eventually fought Holmes as opposed to fighting Michael Moorer? I mean, was it because?
Well, I had management problems too. I had this guy Jack Dell, and Mark Roberts was my manager, but Mark had got investments, money from him, and then he wanted to be in charge, and he wanted me to fight Holmes. He didn't want me to fight Michael Moorer. So I was in between this and that, and I was just thinking about my jab, wouldn't work with Michael Moorer, and, that was part of it too. My management was arguing over who's doing this, and, so I just made the wrong decision. If my people would have been together, then we would have made the right decision.
Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, I got one more as we close out. I'm sure Rob does too. The more I think about it, we had Dwight Quawi, the Camden Buzzsaw, in studio a while back because he's going in the AC Boxing Hall of Fame, and he fought Holyfield. You fought Holyfield, and I remember even to this day, years ago when I interviewed Dwight, he still believes those fights in '87, '88, especially the one in the Army. The rumors back in the day, years ago, was that Evander was on steroids. I'm not putting you on the spot. Was there ever that feeling in the boxing circles where you would know? I mean, you came out flat, basically said, "Hey, Morrison, we knew," but was there ever that sentiment involving a fighter like Evander Holyfield?
Well, I would, I don't want to, I like Holyfield. I don't know really what he's taking. I believe he's taking supplements, but I'd be wrong to say, if he was taking illegal supplements, because I really don't know. I've never seen him take anything.
Well, it's
so
not.
I'd be
It's
wrong
not
to say that now. I mean, but if you're thinking about it, about him being in such top shape all these years, and him being able to do what he's been doing, I don't know, because usually when you're on steroids, you don't have that many rounds in you. But Holyfield could take you 12 rounds. Exciting. So, he might be on some supplements, but I don't think he was on any illegal anything. I think he's just a natural.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's good. Because my thing was, I was going to say, it's not what your corner thought or what your management thought or anybody else thought.
Sure.
We were asking, what did you think?
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And,
So that answer works. That answer works for me.
Well, but give us your take on the heavyweight division as we stand right now. We had the Klitschko and we had the Joshua, but we also have the Wilders and we have the WBO champion and also Tyson Fury. We have a few people that can probably bring the heavyweight division back to the limelight to a certain degree. Yeah. What's your take on the heavyweight division 2017?
2017, I think the man to beat would be Joshua. I think Wilder has been winning, but he hasn't been fighting the type of guys. He ain't been fighting the Klitschko's or anything like that. He's been fighting basically bums. And I give him credit for one fight. I think it was 2 fights ago, and he knocked the guy out, but the guy came in there to fight.
Yeah, he had to work.
And he stood out.
Yeah.
He stood out, and I was happy for that. But I really think he needs a lot more experience if he's going to get in there with a Joshua guy, because we don't know if Dante can get up off the canvas. You never know. You don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we know this guy can get up.
Let me ask you, Ray Mercer versus the best Ray Mercer possible versus Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder.
I'm beating both of them. I'm beating definitely Wilder. I mean, definitely whoop him with the jab, and just out being slick.
And test him a little bit in the body, right?
Right, and I'm gonna tell you, Joshua, he can't take a punch. And I know that he can get knocked the fuck down. He got knocked down how many times? Twice. Yeah,
he got knocked down once, and then he knocked down Klitschko twice.
That's right.
And then finished him off. Yeah.
Great fight though.
So
one I've seen in years. I tell you.
So do you think that with Klitschko knocking him down in that round and him looking so spent, do you think that it was more of a case of Klitschko's not being able to capitalize as opposed to Joshua actually coming back and gut checking?
I don't know. I don't know. I like I said, man, I give both of them guys credit. Both of them. Joshua, I give him the most because he did come back and he looked spent, but he got his second win.
Yeah.
He got a second win, and it showed. It was a great fight.
It was. Hey, Ray, we're going to let you get out of here. Great segment. We appreciate the extended time. You catching any stripers down there in Florida?
Oh, nah, man, just big mouth. Big mouth bass. Just big mouth. I get stripers when I come up there now. When I come to Atlantic City.
That's what I'm... Okay.
That's what you're talking about.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Now, see, my father was a big fisher because we live in Brigantine. He would all get the the stripers. Yep.
Oh my God! I go right there right at the bridge, man. I ain't never.
All right, you got an invite. Hold on a second. Are you bringing the boat?
No, I don't have no boat.
All right, we'll go off the jetty.
We don't
How's that?
need a boat.
We'll go off the jetty.
Yeah, we don't need a boat. I'll take you where to go. Where I caught my first one. I fight Klitschko.
I'll show you where to go.
Okay, there you go. You show me where to go. Oh, we gotta do this real soon.
You got the open invite.
Okay, I'll be looking for that one.
All right, no doubt. All right, well, listen, Chan, we appreciate a couple moments and look forward to talking again.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right, you got it.
Have a good one, Chan.
All right, you too, man.
All right, be well. Ray Mercer, good stuff. And another thing, too, we both share the same birthday.
You and Ray Mercer?
Yeah,
okay.
We're both April guys, April 4th. So I'll tell you what, he's fiery.
You got the
He
heavyweights.
said-
I'm Jack Johnson. You're
Yeah,
Mercer. So,
yeah, exactly. We got it all
the
covered.
heavyweights.
We'll kind of recap it on the other side. He made some really interesting points when you talk about the heavyweight division. You know, he's talking about one fighter can't really take a punch, can get up from a punch, which is an interesting dynamic. And then you have another fighter in Deontay Wilder and I believe he's vulnerable. We'll talk a little more about that. And we have to get in what transpired over the weekend, where basically I am tired. I'm done. I don't want to hear any more about a fighter being the son of a living legend. We're just going to call him the son right now. How's that? Is that fair?
Well, I mean, he knew the significance of this fight, and he knew, every fighter. Like I always said, even Ali didn't have good fights every night out.
It was a horrible fight. We're gonna dive into that. I know we're gonna disagree. We're gonna dive into that on the other side. It was a rollover of a fight. We'll dive into that as well. We'll take you up to 8 o'clock, and again a Wednesday edition of WJR Boxing Podcast coming at you live inside the Tri-X 57 studios, and of course powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Karina.
And we're from Meet AC. Today we are here to take you inside the Claridge Hotel's unique and wide-ranging meeting and event space.
Now branded as a Radisson Hotel, the Claridge Hotel has transformed this historic property and its 500 guest rooms, which welcomes any type of guest.
The Claridge Hotel offers over 100,000 square feet of newly renovated convention and event space.
From corporate retreats to small conventions, Claridge can accommodate everything in between, and their highly qualified banquet staff will customize your event based on your requests.
The new state-of-the-art conference center features 15,000 square feet of function space, including a 6,400 square foot room perfect for general sessions or small trade shows, as well as 4 smaller conference and boardrooms.
The newly renovated Oceanfront Grand Ballroom offers breathtaking views of the Atlantic Ocean and the world-famous Atlantic City Boardwalk. With over 12,500 square feet, this stunning, architecturally designed ballroom is perfect to host your wedding or corporate event.
Also oceanside is the Ocean View Room, which is situated on the 3rd floor and contains 5,150 square feet of space. This space is perfect for a general session or social gathering.
The Celebrity Theater, situated on the 3rd floor, is versatile enough to host almost any event imaginable. With banquet seating bringing its capacity to 550, it's perfect for your general session. From performing arts to boxing matches, the theater lends itself to every need.
The main ballroom is located on the 6th floor and contains 2,200 square feet of pre-function space, which makes it adaptable for any corporate or social use.
Also located on the 6th floor is a Southampton room, which is adjacent to the main ballroom and pre-function space. This space can be used for a small meeting, hospitality room, registration, or office.
Last but not least, View is the newest and first rooftop bar in Atlantic City. With its indoor and outdoor arrangements, this 360-degree view is fit for any type of small meeting, celebration, or pre-function space.
With breathtaking views and delightful cocktails, attendees won't want to leave this magnificent space.
Don't forget to visit meetac.com to book your next meeting or convention.
All right, 7:46. Got about 15 minutes to play with on this Wednesday. Good stuff from Ray Mercer, and of course, a Wednesday edition of WJR Boxing Podcast alongside Rob Scott. I'm Rich Quinones, joined with Rod Green. Does a great job with the ACB HOF VP. Also does a lot handling the business side of things. We appreciate a couple moments, and we're itching. We're ready to go here. Yeah. Let's get the ball rolling. So, where do you guys stand with the weekend? We're a couple weeks away. How's everything looking? Give us an update.
Hey, first and foremost, man, we thank what's happening here on Double Jab every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's been fantastic.
Oh, we appreciate that.
I've been able to follow along and update the website with each podcast, man. So It's been some incredible interviews and some great banter, especially the one that we just heard with Ray Mercer.
yeah.
For sure. So, I mean, that was a firework into the weekend for sure. I mean, we're excited, man. It's May 26th through the 28th. I mean, we're setting a standard. You know, that was really Ray's vision, you know, coming into this, was that we knew how, you know, most Hall of Fame weekends or induction ceremonies go. And, you know, what better place to do it than, you know, having the Atlantic Ocean, the boardwalk as the backdrop, you know, on a season opening weekend, if you will. But in saying as much, we're kicking it off. And everything I'm saying is happening with our corporate partner, the Claridge Hotel, Radisson Hotel. May 26th is that Friday, and we're doing a unbelievable kickoff at the rooftop, the View. And this is where it's a lot of interaction with dignitaries and VIPs, VIP guests, and so it's food included in that event as well. And we're really excited about exposing fight fans to the beginning of the weekend in that fashion, and just kind of rolling out the red carpet, if you will, to the city as a whole. Really, really excited about the following day, the morning of the 27th. It's our Fight Fan Experience Expo, man. And, you know, and the approach was, you know, to make it not just an expo, but highly interactive. So we have some great exhibits, the Jack Johnson exhibit and the Legacy exists with Joe Frazier, as well as other vendors that's going to be on hand for his food, his apparel, and giveaways as well. And those fight fans, and we have the Fight Fan Experience that's actually powered by Tri-X 57, where individuals are going to be able to come in and call the fight and do the ring walk and kind of, you know, have that stare down moment, you know, kind of transposed with the greats. So that will conclude, and then we go into our honoree gala that evening of the 27th. And this is, you know, put on your Sunday best, if you will, you know, put on your tux. And also just come formal. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a tux. We don't want to give that impression that's the only way that you can come, because we've got a lot of callers that we've gotten, and how is their dress and what's to be expected, because it's never been done before in this capacity. But we're highlighting women in boxing. We're highlighting, you know, local young man out of the AC PAL.
Yep.
You know, and we're just excited about that interactive setting as well. And then we're going to it's going to be an after affair that evening, and that's going to be open to the public as well. But, you know, we're really excited about that Sunday, you know, and that's what it's about, is the induction ceremony and having those great names, you know, inducted into the Hall of Fame, Atlantic City Hall of Fame.
Well, Rod, I know that each week we always, you know, we push the Hall of Fame, but I always push the notion, or I always push the thing of where I feel like I challenge anybody to say that this Hall of Fame is not a credible Hall of Fame, a credible inductees and so on and so forth. Who has been like basically stenciled in as far as like basically definitely going to be there?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has basically have said they're definitely going to be there. The only person that had a conflict was Larry Holmes, but we've gotten confirmation from everyone that is able to attend, of course. You know, we're excited about it. When you mentioned the word credible, I think it's less about that than more than it's about the history of Atlantic City being captured and not making it about boxers, you know, in a sense that is this person coming? And if they're coming, of course, that's an add value.
Sure.
But the true add value is the fact that you have a historical moment that's taking place within itself, which is the weekend, and then the Hall of Fame itself being actually established by Ray McCline, of course, and myself in 2014, him being the founder, obviously, and me being a VP. And the first call that I, you know, coming from him, you know, at you have that epiphany moment, which was an honor. But, you know, to your point, I think that, you know, to answer it again clearly, everyone's confirmed with the exception of a possible conflict with Larry Holmes. But what we've been driving in other interviews as well is that, because that question always comes up. Is Tyson going to be there? You know,
well, right away they want to think, oh, well, if Tyson's not going to be there and they're going to put him in, they're just going to stick him in there to sell tickets. That's just the flip side of the coin, if you will, where they look at it, where they're narrow-minded. And kind of to Rob's point, and kind of piggyback what you're saying, I think when you capture the history, you know, the names to me are just icing, you know, the cherry on top, so to speak. When you're preserving that history and it's on full display, that gives you the cachet and the automatic credibility.
Absolutely. And that, you know, and here's the other component as well. How is the boxing community responding to this? You know, how is the other Hall of Fames responding to this. And that also lends credibility. Well, for the induction ceremony, Henry Hascop is the host. So there's an immediate buy-in from there. Steve Lott, he's put a lot of his film already, giving us access to film that we have been able to post on Instagram and get mileage out of that. And there's other discussions about, future interactions and relationships. And I think that this, it goes without saying, but Atlantic City is, only a few places that you actually could do something like this. And clearly, it's why it's being done and being accepted and being deemed credible from the onset. But you know how it goes. At the end of the weekend, the true credibility is going to come and what the press, has to say and what the industry has to say after the weekend. So we'll be able to be better to find that answer, after the weekend as well. But that's not why we're doing it, right? You do it because it needs to be done and you're filling a void.
Well,
last one for me, and then I know we got to hit a break. I don't know if Rob had one more, but I'm just curious. Do you feel you guys going forward, this can really kind of be the springboard to also, I don't want to say reignite, but to start bringing back consistently more fights down here? And maybe never like it was in 60s, 70s, and 80s, late 80s, early 90s, but to just re-put it back on the map, if that kind of makes sense.
I'll say it quickly. There was a recent discussion in the AC press about Canelo already making his next fight.
Yep.
And this discussion basically was, could we draw that fight? And hey, because the redesign of Boardwalk Hall, we lost about 10,000 seats, right? But then the piece was, well, we did Blake Sheldon, and that was like 50,000 people on the beach. So why not do an open air, boxing event? The gist is, you heard it when Roy Jones was on with Snapper. He'd love to come back, love to, be down here in AC. And I think with gradual steps like the AC Ball Hall of Fame weekend and our next phase of our business plan, which is the brick and mortar, can at least help establish and definitely cheer on that conversation for sure.
We look forward to it. It's right around the corner. Don't forget Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame online.com. You can check out all the information. I don't know, when you guys come down, everyone's got the better hats, and I got to start dressing the part a little bit. Today's an off day for me. All right, last time out, we'll come back. We have to get into what transpired. A horrible fight over the weekend. It's just horrible for Cinco de Mayo. We'll close it out on the other side on a Wednesday.
Thank you, guys.
His eyes were closed well before he hit the canvas. The uppercut was perfect, George.
And not only that, he's getting his whole body into it.
It's Tyson all the way here in round number one. Vicious shots to the body.
All right, a couple minutes to play with before we get out of here. Good stuff from Rod Green. Appreciate him swinging by on short notice. Rob Scott, Rich Quinones. All right, let's get into what transpired as we start to wrap it up. Chavez Jr. and Canelo Alvarez. It wasn't even a competitive fight. I just read this morning, too, they actually had a secretive weigh-in prior to. It was a gimmick to me. I think it was just set the stage for what we already thought was going to happen down the road. It was going to be Canelo and GGG, but that fight was not competitive. And to me, I'm tired of hearing Chavez Jr. and being this son of a legendary fighter. He's got no heart, no desire. His heart took a beating, yes. He showed heart taking the beating, but come on.
Well, we touched on it. Me and Dave touched on it. Dave on Tempo. We touched on it last week, where I felt that. Well, actually, Scully said that he saw pictures of Chavez prior to the fight, and he thought that Chavez looked ripped. I thought that he looked spent, and I didn't think
which told you he probably had a hard time cutting weight again.
Exactly. So, but now, is that a product of a Chavez who doesn't? I think by him even losing the weight showed that he tried. And I think
you hear what you're saying, though?
No. Listen, it's all about preparation. You know what I mean? And I think that one of the knocks versus Chavez in the past is that, you know, he's not taking boxing seriously. I think he took boxing seriously, but I think he drained himself this time to the point where what you saw is what you saw. But the thing is, he has to know that he was under the microscope. He was under the microscope, and there are going to be people like you who feel like, you know, listen, okay, we gave you this chance, we gave you this chance, no more chances. So now, he's used up his chances in the sense of people feeling that he's this viable person that he's going to come out.
Well, you know, that thought right away his size was going to be the difference, as it wasn't. He
no,
just can't.
What size? What size?
But I'm saying they said like by any notion they thought his considerable size advantage would help him. That was quickly.
He didn't have
dismissed.
size advantage. He had height advantage.
Okay, so be that as it may, it was the talent. It's lack of talent. That was a mismatch. He got outclassed.
No, he got outclassed, and that's something I'm not going to take away from Canelo. But I still do think that, you know, Canelo had a person in there that was drained. And that person, he did not have the best Chavez. Now, granted, the best Chavez is, you know, will he please stand up? You know, because you know, it's a hit or miss with him, and that's the thing. But that's a thing that he created himself. You know, so you know he can't knock anybody else for what people think about him. So. And he had a chance. It's like being in a fight with somebody and saying, I want a rematch. Well, you had your opportunity right then and there to handle your business. You knew that Canelo wasn't going to give me a rematch.
I thought it was gimmicky when they walked GGG out there and then they walked him back. To me, it was all for show. It was like WWE. It was gimmicky for the fight that the prelude. We know what's going to happen, right? Potentially in September.
Well, again, that's what I was going to say. Regardless, let's get past Chavez. We are now going to get the fight that everyone's been clamoring for: him, Canelo versus Triple G. And I think that that's going to be a fight that's, you know, it's going to be a positive for boxing as opposed to a negative for boxing. Because I just think that Canelo has the ability for people are thinking about this fight in the sense of speaking from their, you know, their heart as opposed to their minds. And I think that a lot of people, either people think that Triple G is going to just run through this kid, or they think that this kid is going to show Triple G something that he's never seen before.
He's getting older and he's getting a little more vulnerable. And it might be the prime for the picking, as they say.
But it spells for a good fight. And
of course it does.
You know, it spells for a good fight. And I think that Canelo has the ability to beat Triple G. And all this time, I don't think that, contrary to people's belief, who thinking that Canelo was scared, I don't think he was scared. I just think that he was in business mode. And, you know, it's called business and pleasure. And I just think that with a lot of fighters, their version of business is not something that's bringing us pleasure. But, you know, Golden Boy and Canelo, Triple G and his people, they've finally coming together, and that's a good thing for boxing.
Yeah, it's overdue as well, and that's typically what we see, right? Everyone was talking about Mayweather and Pacquiao, and then by the time they fought, everyone knew it was going to be a competitive fight. So you got some local cards this weekend. I know you'll be traveling, but not next weekend.
Next weekend.
Next weekend. So we'll bother you about that potentially next week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Should be a good fight, but we'll discuss it.
We'll discuss it, right? Yeah. We'll keep that for next week. Don't forget, you can follow Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame on Twitter, Instagram, Rob Scott on Instagram as well as Facebook, TriX57. Keep it locked into TriX57.com. You guys know where to find myself as well, Rich Q on Q. Good stuff from Rod Green. Really appreciate Ray Mercer jumping on board. Extended segment, wonderful stuff. So you got some good fights. You got some local cards this weekend. We'll be back in the saddle next Wednesday. Don't forget, all your information is online, acbhof.com, as well as Rob doing the great job with the blog. She got all the videos. You can check out the TriX57 YouTube channel. You can also check out ACBHOF as well, Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame.com for all the videos as well. So another edition of Double Jab Boxing in the books, as always, powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. For Rob Scott, I'm Rich Quinones. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back in the saddle next Wednesday from 7 to 8 Eastern Time right here on TriX57 with another edition of Double Jab Boxing. Again, as always, powered by the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame.